Oh yeah, it's double organic.
Hey, thanks for reaching out to me.
Hey, sorry, still in my work clothes here.
Oh, must be busy working hard for that big day coming up. Wink, wink. Your secret's safe with me.
Oh, no, I'm just a mall Santa.
Sure you are. Well, I won't tell anyone, you know, client confidentiality and all.
Yeah, well, anyway, I had some questions I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, you wanted to ask me about some raw food, staying raw in the winter.
So, as I'm getting older and I'm researching about diet and living healthfully, finding more and more about vitamins and minerals and stuff, and vitamin D in the winter is really difficult to get. So, as a raw vegan, you know, how am I gonna get vitamin D and where does it come from?
Yeah, I knew that one was coming. Vitamin D in the winter, that's a hot topic. I wish the winter was as hot as the topic. I'm not gonna cover every single thing about vitamin D. That could take a really long time. So, vitamin D is produced in the body. The UVB rays hit our skin and we make it. The active form in the body is called calcitrol. And as the name suggests, it has something to do with calcium. It helps absorb calcium. And that's important because calcium, the most abundant mineral in the body, makes up 2% of our weight in the bones is calcium. And if we're not absorbing calcium, we can get weaker bones. Rickets is bone deformation. It can also, low vitamin D and thus low calcium, cause weak muscles because calcium is used in muscle contractions. Boom! But, also, vitamin D is shown to prevent cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, things like that. It's important. So how do we get it? Well, first of all, it's a fat-soluble vitamin, and so we can store it in our fat. And everyone has fat. Even if you're a string bean, super skinny, you've got a fair amount of fat on you. And gets stored in the fat, and then it gets released as it's needed. And so first tip is during the summer, make sure you get lots of outside time and store it. Obviously, not everyone can live at the equator. I would love to, but right now I'm in Canadiana in my igloo. But store as much as you can. Number 2 is UV, as I call it. And so we can either get UV from hopping on a plane and going somewhere where the sun is shining, or if flying on a plane to the tropics is just not gonna work, well, maybe we can use technology and kind of create our own sun with a vitamin D lamp. More on that in a moment, but let's take a step back and just talk about the different types of light in the spectrum. The sun is going to emit what's called the full spectrum. That's the infrared, which has 3 separate categories. We don't really need to worry about infrared. Then there's the visual light that we can see, and then there's the ultraviolet which again, similar to the infrared, has 3 distinctions. You've likely heard of UVA and UVB. There's also UVC. We don't really need to worry about it in this case. UVA, UVC emitted by the sun. UVA passes through the ozone without any sort of issue, and 95% of the ultraviolet light is UVA, and 5% is UVB, with the remaining very small amount being UVC, ultraviolet C. So, what are the difference between UVA and UVB? First of all, UVB is the good light, or the good ultraviolet light. It I don't want to really say good and bad. They're both beneficial, but too much is a bad thing for both of them. Too much UVB, it's going to cause skin damage, DNA damage. It's going to cause damage, and too much UVA causes wrinkling and aging. But which light produces vitamin D or synthesizes vitamin D? It is UVB. We want UVB, and UVB hits our skin, and in our skin is a cholesterol derivative called 7-dehydrocholesterol. And when the UVB hits the skin, that goes through a reaction, and then it goes through several other reactions in the liver and the kidney, and we get vitamin D called calcitrol. Anyway, we don't need to worry about all the ins and outs of that. I just want to give you a little bit of background information on how is it made, which light does which. It should be noted that both ultraviolet rays cleanse the blood, cleanse the lymph. Those are important parts of the light. But as always, too much can be a bad thing. So, we can use these lamps to sun ourselves. Now, they're pretty expensive, but I've done some research on them, and you know, you can buy the really expensive $2,000 stuff that's full body that you'll stand in front of, or you can buy smaller ones. Now, you're thinking, hey, maybe I can go to a tanning salon and use the tanning beds. Well, tanning beds are mostly UVA. There is some UVB, but by law, it is reduced to 3%. And what I also want to mention about percentage of UVB, you might see a lamp that says 6% UVB and another one says 10%, and you think, well, the 10%'s got to be better. But if the 10% light is emitting 50, let's just call 50 whatevers, just as an example. Well, 10% of 50 compared to 6% of, say, 100, well, now the 6% one is doing more. So let's talk a little bit about some options here. Well, if they're really expensive, what else can we do? Reptile lights are basically the same thing, because reptiles, they need the sun as well for vitamin D. And so if we can get some reptile lights and just kind of make our own sunning system, might be cheaper. Now, I will post a link below which documents someone's 1 year, 2 year even experiment using vitamin D lamps, reptile lamps, just as a reading light, just screwing it into a bulb and just reading with a shirt off for, however long, every couple days or something. Just using that as an experiment. So I'll post that. It's an interesting read. In the end, he concludes that maybe you need something that's more powerful to get a good effect, but it definitely does work. I'll post 2 or 3 websites where you can buy vitamin D lamps. Only one is USDA certified, and they have, all of them have a wealth of information and studies and that kind of stuff that you can read as well. So like I said, this is a hot topic. There's a lot of research I've done into it, and you're gonna have to do your own research to decide, do I want to buy a Reptile light? Do I want to buy the expensive type of light? Now, what I also wanted to mention is that UVA rays also, they will break down the vitamin D that you create with the UVB rays. So the tanning beds were basically mostly UVA rays, and tanning beds might not be the best solution for vitamin D. That's just something I wanted to kind of fit in there that I forgot to mention on the bulb, the vitamin D bulb subject. But there is a third option, and that's supplementation. And the first thing I recommend before supplementing is getting a test. And I'll post a link below where you can like order this test. You prick your finger and blood and send them the blood, and they'll test you for your vitamin D. So I think that's about $75. Maybe you have a local test that you can do. But what test do you want? 25 hydroxy vitamin D test. Now, like a lot of things, there's a lot of conflicting information. This person says you should test at this range. This person says you should test at that range. So Don Bennett, who has done a lot of research, he says that between 50 and 80 nanograms per milliliter is a good place to test. But some people say if you're testing as low as 10 nanograms per milliliter, no problem. Other people, they're in the 40 to 50, 60 to 70 range. They're all over the place. No one can agree. But if 10 nanounits is the bare minimum that just lets you get by, that's really not enough, because the definition of a vitamin is something that is required to avoid a deficiency or deficiency symptom. And I already discussed what the deficiency symptoms of vitamin D are. So in the past, it was believed that as long as you're avoiding the deficiency symptoms, you're good. What we're learning now is that here's where you're deficient. If you're here, you're good. If you're here, you're great. Right? Same for vitamin C and all these other things. Rather than just avoiding scurvy, if you have more, it's better. Now, of course, remember, vitamin D is fat soluble and it can be toxic. But you need to be supplementing a crazy amount to achieve toxic levels. So don't worry about the toxicity too much. Now, how much should you supplement if you are going to supplement? Again, all this conflicting information. Some people say you should take 400 to 600 IUs, international units, a day. Other recommendations are 1,000 IUs per 25 pounds of body weight. So about 5,000 for an adult, or slightly more, slightly less. And you say, whoa, that's a big difference compared to what other people are saying. Well, if you spend some time in the sun, a day at the beach, you're gonna generate between 10,000 to 40,000 IUs. So it's all relative. Remember, vitamin D is good. It's difficult to get to toxic levels naturally. You're just not going to get it from the sun. You'll get burnt and go inside before you get toxic levels. So with supplementation, there's 2 types of vitamin D you could supplement. There's D3 and D2. D2 is created in mushrooms when the UVB rays kind of synthesize it, and it's much less potent, and so it's not nearly as good as vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is what we create when the sun's rays, the UVB rays, hit our skin and we synthesize it. So how do they make it with a supplement? Well, they take that pre-vitamin D cholesterol derivative, not from us, but from sheep's wool, and it's also in milk of different species. So they take that, they emit it to UVB rays with bulbs that are what I mentioned that you could use on yourself. Then they bottle those, the vitamin D and sell it. So, do you want to take a supplement that is not vegan? This is your choice. Do a lot of research. I am considering experimenting with the bulbs and seeing how that goes. I'm going to get my vitamin D tested because I've done 4 years of no supplement at all. And at the end of the winter, you know, you're feeling like, oh, I just want this winter to end. That seasonal affective disorder, SAD, not standard American diet. But am I getting rickets and bone weakness? I'm not getting that kind of deficiency because I do spend a lot of time in the summer and I store it. So, vitamin D, it's a big, sorry, the battery ran out. But, as you can see, vitamin D is it's a big topic, lots of things to consider, but in the summer, if you build up that store, that's a good start. Then you have, you know, your vacations as well as your D2 that maybe you get from mushrooms, and you can even supplement D2, although remember it's not as effective. Then to get D3, you can either use a lamp, or there is always the option of supplementing. Personally, taking a non-vegan supplement is not something I would do, but it's very important to understand the options, as vitamin D deficiency is something that you don't want to have happen. Remember, deficiency symptoms could be weak bones and osteoporosis, that kind of stuff, so you don't want to be going down that road. So get lots of sun when it's available and synthesize it however you can when it's not. Hope that helped. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.
Oh yeah, it's Double Organic. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. We got epic recipes for you. Fitness and raw food motivation. Connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. You won't regret it. Stay tuned for more.